Sylva, and I'm running a small body shop here at CMTS. I'm originally from Hawaii, born and raised there. My mom was the spiritual leader of the home, and I think I was about 8 years old or so. She went forward when the pastor gave an altar call, and I figured that was the right thing to do. But later in my life, I ran around with friends that we all weren't a good influence for each other, and ended up having a drug accident when I was 17 years old. And just the not knowing what would be in the future of dying. I knew I didn't know Jesus, but I knew about him. And it was at that point where I realized that I really needed to confess my sins, and I asked them into my heart. It was then that probably the first time that I experienced peace and joy in my heart that wasn't from inside of me, but it was that it came upon me. It was really nice that an older aunt of mine came to see me, and she said, the old is gone and the new has come. It was fantastic. For the first time I experienced love in my life, and I could love people. I started to read God's Word. I started to seriously listen, and probably about 2 years later, I felt like it was time to, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? And so I started praying about it, and I wanted to serve the Lord. But I didn't know that the Lord could use me, I was such a practical person. I was always doing things with my hands. I made surfboards, skateboards. I thought, well, if you're going to be a missionary, or you're going to serve the Lord, then you need to be a pastor or a Bible translator in Africa. Or that was my view of what a missionary was. But as time went by, it was clear that God wanted to use my hands, that He could use my hands, and He wanted to do that. I applied to go to school in Texas. It was at the time a college. It was called Laterno, and it was a very hands-on, practically thinking school. And I got my automotive and machinery technology degree there. So that was a big change, going from Hawaii and going to East Texas to live. That was a real cultural change. And every year there was a missionary conference, and a friend of mine went to Holland. So I went in '84 for the summer, worked in the shop there, and that was a huge experience, even going to Europe. I remember being on the plane wondering, well, what am I really doing? And crossing this big ocean. And so at the end of summer, I had my heart set on going back to Hawaii. I worked at a BMW dealership. I was probably there for about 3 weeks, and I just felt like I was really out of place, and I couldn't really understand. And as time went by, I kind of felt like, oh Lord, you're not telling me that you actually want me to go back full time. And yeah, that seemed like that was my conviction. And I came really to a cross point in my life. And it was, am I going to serve Jesus Christ? If I'm going to serve Jesus Christ and I want to live for Him, that means that my whole life should be available to Him, and my whole life should be available to serve Him. And there wasn't any price too high. Told my dad, and he was kind of really shocked. I think my mom was really excited. She was always the spiritual leader of the home. And so I started making arrangements to immigrate. In summer of '85, I arrived in Holland and started working there, and got involved with the Youth for Christ group over there. And it was at that time that I met Hilda, my wife, and that was a real joy. And sometimes I tell people that I had to go all the way to Holland to meet my wife. And I did believe that God He does have one person for those who are going to be married. And but man, do I have to leave Hawaii to find my wife on the other side of the world. And we lived there for 14 years. Well, actually a total of probably 25 years of living and serving the Lord in practical ministry in Holland. And the Lord used it, definitely, and it was a privilege to be there, and I was glad to be able to do it. And but probably about 7-8 years ago, I noticed a desire growing in my heart, more of a desire to maybe work more with people, maybe be a little bit more in discipleship. In the Old Testament, you have a thought or a theme on mentorship. And in the New Testament, you have a theme on discipleship, which are really closely related. And it was about that time that we got a letter from CMTS Ministries saying, would you be open to come and serve with us? We started praying about that, and I wanted to pack my bags and go. But the kids were still in school. It wasn't exactly the right time, and things needed to come and fall into place.